Hey guys, I'm Elissa, and I am here to talk about GLP medications and the complicated world around them. If you're new here, this channel is all about honest discussions with no fluff. I talk about GLP-1 agonist medications. I personally am on Tirzepatide, which is Zepbound, Mounjaro. I'm here to share my personal journey. I am not a doctor. I am just a person navigating these treatments and the systems behind them. I am definitely not giving any medical or legal advice. Check with your healthcare professional for any medical decisions. We are going to talk about some legal stuff. I'm not practicing law. I did go to law school, didn't finish, definitely not a lawyer. So this is just my personal opinion and my personal experience. All right, so we've got a lot of drama today, and I wanted to hop on and talk about it. The FDA recently said that Tirzepatide is no longer in shortage. So that means if you've been using a compounded version of Tirzepatide, which is what I've been using, then timelines are in place for it to stop. 503A pharmacies, which is what I personally use, have about 60 days to stop, and 503B pharmacies have about 90 days before they must stop producing it, unless something changes. What could that be? I actually don't know. Many people are wondering how this will play out, and lawyers for the compounders are pretty much definitely going to fight to keep this going as long as possible for them because they stand to make millions, possibly billions from this. On the other hand, Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk are definitely making billions off these medications. They worked hard to develop the drugs, and they certainly have a right to protect their intellectual property and all the work that they put into it. I agree with that. I understand that. At the same time, as an American who is charged hundreds of dollars a month, and there are Americans who are on Medicare, Medicaid, TRICARE, who are not even allowed to use the discount coupon and have to pay over $1,000 a month for this medication, which I believe is life-saving. It is a really hard pill for me to swallow, no pun intended, for compounding to completely go away. I went to law school. I worked with lawyers for years. I'm married to an attorney, and I know that they will work really hard to find a way to make a good argument for their client. Sad to say, the people who are really benefiting from this situation are going to be the lawyers. I don't know what the courts or regulators are going to decide in the end, but I know that for right now, I'm looking at the things that I can control, and I'm doing what I can to protect my access to medication, my health, and my wallet. All right, so let's talk about why I personally switched to compounded medication in the first place. I started on name brand Zepbound. I used the coupon code. It was $5.50 a month. But after the first month, it became a pretty stressful scavenger hunt. I ended up paying a third-party service about $50 a month, and it would take them about 5 days, and they would call many different pharmacies. And when they found a pharmacy that had it in stock, they would let me know. I hated driving all over. I live in Houston. One day I drove almost out to Louisiana to pick up medication for my husband and myself. But what really started causing the problem was the last 3 times that I filled the medication at a pharmacy, the pharmacy tech gave me a hard time. And it was a different person every time because I was having to go to different pharmacies. The third time, they refused to run my savings card. She told me to sit down and call Eli Lilly, and I had my 3-year-old who was like going crazy at the time. I stayed on the phone, tried to get through the phone tree at Eli Lilly, never even connected to another person. She finally saw that I was still sitting there 30 minutes later with my child who was crying, and she said, "Oh, okay, I'll try the number now." That was like my last straw. On top of that, I have a child with a brain tumor. We have a lot of medical expenses, and we are so lucky. I don't want to add more medical expenses to our monthly budget. So when I did the math and I realized I could both save money and not have to deal with these awkward experiences, I was like, all right, I'm switching to compounded. With compounded medication, it was simpler for me. A reliable source, no more chasing medication all the way to a different state. And then also, I enjoyed being able to meet with a medical provider and a nutritionist online from my home. And these are people that are dealing with medical weight loss patient all the time, every day. But I know that I am flexible. I have ADHD. That means I'm good at being flexible if I can get over the stubbornness at first. So I know that I will have to adjust again and I will survive. So let's talk a little bit about how these compounding pharmacies work. None of them are regulated by the federal government. They are regulated and certified by states, and certain pharmacies have certain certifications for certain states. I use a telehealth company, and then they figure out where you live and route you to the appropriate medical provider and then an appropriate pharmacy for your state. Quality and consistency matter. That's why medical supervision is key. Some people are getting these medications from a much less desirable source. I won't even go into it right now, but I personally trust my certified compounded pharmacy through the telehealth company that I personally use. Who's really making money off this chaos? It's the lawyers. Lawyers on both sides are paid to argue their positions, and no matter what, they are both going to be able to prolong this situation. What I'm guessing is going to happen is over the next 60 days, people are going to be trying to stock up from compounded pharmacies. Maybe they'll try to switch from a 503A to a 503B. Then after that, it's going to be more uncertain, and it's going to be a month-by-month decision if we're able to access medication from compounded pharmacies at all. So in that case, as soon as you're able to reorder, you would want to go ahead and reorder so that you're stocked up as much as possible. I know that compounded pharmacies are already adding other ingredients like vitamin B3 or B12, and then they're also changing the amount of the dose. I personally, you can probably see because I'm not wearing makeup, I have rosacea, and I use compounded skincare. And my skincare is formulated just for me, and I actually like it because I'll have 3 or 4 ingredients, one cream that'll target anti-aging, and then 3 or 4 ingredients that will target rosacea. It saves me money compared to buying all the ingredients separately. I meet with a healthcare provider every once in a while, send them my pictures, and then they come up with a certain formula that's made just for me. What I wonder is how many other people are using the exact same formula that I have that's made just for them, and at what point does the FDA crack down on it? One of the ingredients in my formula is ivermectin, which is the same thing that is in Soolantra, that I recently looked up the price on GoodRx, and I want to say it was about $900 at pharmacies near me. So I definitely prefer the compounded face cream. However, what I'm curious about is what is the difference between getting my Tirzepatide along with vitamin B3 and getting my face medication with 4 different things in it. Are the compounded pharmacies going to have to add a bunch of different ingredients? And if so, is that okay? I don't know. I would definitely want to talk to a medical provider, maybe one who isn't associated with the telehealth company, because it just makes me feel weird. Okay, so if this whole situation stresses you out, remember what you can control. What I even do is I make a list of what can I control, what can I influence, and then what can I not control. And almost always, my list of things that I can control is the longest list. So this medication, whether it's name branded or compounded, has likely given you more tools. I know I have gotten more tools. I have worked on implementing a different exercise routine. I've gotten really good at using my food tracking apps. I love MacroFactor. It sets goals for me. And I've really started enjoying lifting weights in a variety of ways, whether that's Pilates, going to the gym, or doing home workouts. And I'll keep doing that. So I can control how I will respond, and I can still choose to do those things. I don't need the medications to get me to go to the gym. If the compounded supply runs out, you can try getting name brand, see if, again, try to run it through your insurance or get the coupon and pay out of coverage. You can work with your provider to see if you can space out shots. So if you go from 7 days to 8 days, then you would save about 14% off the price. And if you continue to go up from 7 days to 10 days, that would be a pretty significant savings, and you might come close to what you're paying right now with the compounded medication. And then you can also consider switching to compounded semaglutide or an older version of a GLP-1 agonist like liraglutide, if those remain available. I know other people have been prescribed metformin by their doctor before their insurance would approve using a GLP-1 agonist, so that could be something to talk to your doctor about. And in my case, because it took my joint pain away when I never even considered taking a medication for my joint pain, I would 100% talk to my doctor or talk to a specialist about a medication for my joint pain. Looking further into the future, Cagrisema and Retatrutide may be here in a year or 2 years. And then once there's more competition entering the market, and those drugs should be better drugs, then more options would probably mean lower prices eventually. I'm just guessing. Of course, it's not a totally free market and nothing is certain, but I am banking on those personally. So what's weird to me is that Eli Lilly is saying there's no shortage, and the FDA says that they've looked into it and that they agree. However, the compounded pharmacies are saying, sorry, FDA, we strongly disagree with you. You have not made an effort to see how many people are actually using the compounded medication, so you don't know if Eli Lilly could even keep up with all of them. But of course, the other part of that is maybe we can't afford to use the name brand medication. Maybe that's why we are using the compounded medication. And then we're literally cutting people off from a life-saving, life-changing, health-saving medication, all in the name of profits. And that makes me so frustrated. Just as a thought experiment, what if they said, all right, unlimited medication, we can definitely meet the demand as long as everyone pays $5,000. Who could afford it? Not even the top 1%, like the top half of 1% could afford that medication. And then would we feel like it was fair to allow only a certain select few people to access the medication? No. Is it okay? Is it okay that only wealthy people can access a life-improving medication? This all is feeling like one of those dystopian, futuristic movies where rich people get to take other people's life force or time or whatever. It's very disturbing to me. And does the government have a role in protecting public health in this way? I feel like they do, but I don't know. I don't know. Should they ensure affordable access? Or should you just let the free market decide? I know that there's a certain point where when there's a ton of demand, naturally the free market would have you drop the price. But of course, it's not a free market because of patent laws, which make total sense for prescription drugs, but also in a way don't because our prescription drug system in the US is messed up, just like the rest of our healthcare system. But with all this debate, in reality, real people are struggling and dying from metabolic-related conditions that this medication can improve. My biggest challenge as a person who's neurodivergent is being consistent. In fact, if there's one thing that's consistent for me, it's that I'm not consistent and I need novelty to mix it up. So I plan on consistently using novelty to stick to what I want. So what does that mean? For me, it means keeping on using my macro factor app. And then when I get bored with using it, switch to another app that I find more interesting. For my workouts right now, I'm consistently doing an at-home dumbbell workout. As soon as I get bored with that, I will try a different one. If I start going over my calorie allotment, if I'm tracking my food and I see that I'm going over by about 500 calories a day, then what I plan to do is add in as many green vegetables as possible, like 5 servings minimum of green vegetables a day. If I continue to go over my calorie allotment and I'm not able to have access to the medication, my personal plan is to call it a bolt. I don't want to start eating Oreos every day or something that's going to affect my blood sugar. But if I'm just eating a little bit more, then I want to be lifting weights and trying to get new personal records on my weights so that my muscle mass is going to continue to go up during this time. In other words, I'm not going to waste the opportunity that comes to me, even if at first it feels like a big disappointment. It's still an opportunity to put on muscle mass. And honestly, that is a main goal for me for 2025. Do I want to go off the medication? No. But if I do have to go off the medication, I will excitedly see it as an experiment in my health. And finally, I can't control the FDA decisions and I can't control the legal battles, but what I can control is my attitude, my lifestyle choices, whether I order DoorDash 3 times a week, guilty of doing that in the past, and where I order from, because now I try to order from places where I can track my food easily. So these are all things that I can do, and I feel really good about that. The medication might be harder to get for a while, but I'm not powerless. So I'm going to use the tools that I have to control what I can control and do what I can do in the meantime. And I also know that great new advancements should be coming down the pipe shortly. If you found this video helpful or you want to stay updated as the situation evolves, please subscribe, but also please comment because I do feel a little bit stressed. What are you doing? What kinds of things can you control? What do you think is going to happen in the future? I really want to hear your opinion. But whatever you do, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. Thanks for being here and bye, y'all.